also a marketing specialist. So we want to tap from his wealth of experience. So, sir, we want to learn from you. So this is a session to learn. We have many young guys who are connected now. They want to learn from you. Some are journalists, some are not journalists, some are entrepreneurs. They want to understand how it works in terms of branding. What does it mean to be branded as an athlete, as a player? What exactly are the impacts? So we're just going to start. But I mean, it's been quite some time now. The effect of coronavirus has eaten deep into every sector. So what's your take? What do you think on the global economy?
Wow. It's it's tough. I mean, for everybody. The economy. I mean, you can hear governments and everyone talking about reopening the economy as soon as possible, because it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're manufacturing or service. There's still lots of face-to-face interaction that needs to happen, you know, so that businesses don't stay shut down. Sorry, I think that there seems to be an issue here that I need to deal with. Just give me a second. So yeah, oops, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. So okay, just hold on. I'm just trying to help with something here.
Yeah.
So yeah, just hold on. If it works. So yeah, the shutdown has affected countries and governments all over the world, because businesses can't function, and when they can't function, they can't produce. When they can't produce, they can't make money, and when they can't make money, they can't spend money. So, and that eats into the economy. You've already heard, I'm sure most everybody has heard that oil prices in the US have fallen below zero, for the first time in history. And some might ask, how come? Why would oil price fall below zero? And the fact is, because it means that the producers of oil are actually paying people to take the oil off them. So it's tough, really. It's very, very difficult for everyone, and that's why the world economy is suffering, and that's why we need this coronavirus to go away as soon as possible, so we can get back to some kind of normality.
Interesting. Well, I think everybody can understand at this point in time that it's the whole world is fighting to survive right now. So, but let's take it down to sports. You're a football person, a sport person. How do you think this has affected football, the game that everybody loves, the global game?
Well, look, just like every other, I don't know because I know my wife is doing another live over there, so I might need to step outside so that we don't get into, so that the noise doesn't get into this one. Can you hear the noise?
Yes.
I sort of got Ida to start that, because the idea, the way I saw it, was that there was too much of a disconnect between the media and the players, and each time players came to town, people were always struggling to get interviews and media conferences. So I helped him organize the media conference between players, and not just the media conference, but to set out a day 1 week, where all the players would come down and interact with the media, so that media interaction that you see the Super Eagles having now, I sort of introduced it into the team. And then after Ida left, I kind of took that up a notch further, to make it more open, you know, and more inclusive, and for players and media to interact. And what I also tried to organize was one-on-one interviews between players and media organizations that need them, not just to come in and do general interviews, because the time for those ones were short. So what I did was try to plan in advance, plan ahead of time, make sure media are sending the request for individual interviews, the players they want, and then set it up with the players so that, you know, once they get into camp, you come in, you do your interviews, and you go. And that way, what now happened was that the players knew when they were going to do an interview, when they were going to do an interview, and with who they were going to do an interview. And then the media also knew, had a schedule of who they were going to talk to and when. And then once that time was over, everybody could go and rest. The media had have their interviews, they could go and rest. The players can go and relax and get ready for the games. And I also started the process of sending out emails, not just emails with pictures and voice notes to the media. So, and then before every match, I'll send a preview. After every match, I'd send a match report, training sessions. Even after the interviews, training sessions, I'll send out stories that, you know, the media could use. So what I tried to do was to make sure that the media had as much info as possible, you know, from the team, but at the same time without affecting the team's coordination and training too much, and everybody was happy. So I started a lot of things with the Super Eagles that have remained till now. And what I'm glad to see is that, you know, a lot of those things are, even though they might have changed a bit slightly here and there, but there were things that were not there before, you know, and I'm happy to say that, you know, I did all of that.
Interesting. So that means at the time you brought structure to the way players were being communicated with, and how players were communicating to the media, structured the way you were reaching out to the media in terms of communication from the NFF down to the media. Interesting, very interesting journey. I mean, for the purpose of this conversation, right? So we're looking at bringing it down to brands now. We saw at some point that Nike was sponsoring the team shirt. It became the kit sponsor. At some point, it was Adidas. How does these things work? Is it that, the country just goes ahead to propose to Nike, we want you guys to come on board? How does it work for the purpose of learning?
It's a bit more complicated than that. I mean, usually what you see is that a lot of things happen behind the scenes. Usually you'd have marketing agents who try to, you know, match brands with assets. And in this case, the brands being Nike or the kitchen company, and the asset being the national team. In our case, during a period of ascendancy, we had Adidas. That was in the 89-94 era. You know, well, we started with Adidas when we had those three leaf, the three-leaf symbol. If I'm not mistaken, Adidas were Nigeria's kit makers when we won the Nations Cup in 1980, and they were kit makers when we won the Nations Cup in 94 and also in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so Adidas were there for our three Nations Cup wins. I'll just try and confirm that, but I think that's the case. Anyway, the thing is, after the whole 94 era, we had a bit of an issue with Adidas, and then Nike came in, and they were there until I think post 98 when they left, and Adidas came back in again before they left. So the thing is, the truth of the matter is that we haven't exactly managed our relationships with the equipment manufacturers professionally. And that's why you see all these changes. And it all comes down to a lack of structure, and I'd also say a lack of understanding of marketing, and a little bit of politics as well, you know. So for instance, the last Adidas contract was cancelled because we had some breaches, you know, during the World Cup in 2014, where some members of the team were wearing, who had Nike endorsements, were wearing Nike equipment at the World Cup. So Adidas were very upset, and not only did they cancel the contract, or not did they refuse to renew the contract when it was up, they also did not pay Nigeria the the bonus they were due for qualifying for the World Cup, and were even going to sue us in Holland. It took some serious
Interesting.
diplomacy, before they sort of let go of the lawsuit. But they refused to renew the contract, and they also did not pay the bonus that we were due because of those breaches. So it's important to manage these relationships properly, and one of the ways of doing that is to make sure there is a marketing liaison, who not just one, multiple marketing liaisons who work across both out of the NFF or on the outside to manage the relationship between the asset as the NFF and the sponsors to make sure that these breaches.
I mean, so is it how would it be more appropriate? Should the NFF actually have a department that handles this, or they should use a consultant? Which would be more appropriate?
Look, the best way to always do things is to have a consultant, to outsource these things, because the trouble with doing it from within most of the time is that, especially in a society like ours, is that there's just way too much, how would I put it? I'm trying to look for a good word to say to put it. But anyway, bottom line is, let's just say it's at this point in time, it's best, to outsource that job. I mean, it's possible to hire somebody, excuse me, I'm picking up pollen from here. It's pollen season, so there are allergies. So yeah, I think at this point in time, it's best to outsource it, so that you can have someone who is outside the system and who can manage that that relationship. We've seen what over the years where we've had people in-house, and see where we are.
Interesting. So let's bring it to the club level. So sometime last week, we saw one player, a Bayern Munich player, apologize in the media how he breached one of the brand's contracts, and then the club had to fine him. I mean, with players, what exactly is it that they need? What exactly is it that athletes need? Do they need someone to always check them? Do they need someone to always guide them? Or do they need someone to always inform them that, hey, these are things? Or how is it that the club needs to come out with a like a rule book to say these are the things that you shouldn't do, these are the things that you should do?
They do that already. Look, once players get into a club, they get an orientation. They're onboarded, sort of. They get an orientation, and like those cars that you talk about, they are given sponsors equipment, whether it's apparel, or cars, or equipment, or they get all of those things, wristwatches, whatever it is. Of course, players also have their own personal endorsements, but they're not supposed to use those when on official duty. When within when they are under the club. So a training session, match day, all of that falls under club activities, and you can't be out of branding. So I'm sure, for instance, that Kingsley Coman I think he probably just got carried away, and when he did, I don't think he did deliberately. I doubt he would do that deliberately. I think he just got carried away, got in his car and drove to training without realizing what car he was driving. And these mistakes do happen sometimes. But I think the important thing is how quickly the club reacted, because, I mean, just like what happened with Nigeria, we had different people who were wearing Nike equipment at the World Cup. Now, if the NFF had somebody who was like a brand liaison right there, who acted immediately to say, okay, look, guys, you can't wear this, you can't, and nip that in the bud. You could have taken all of that stuff, and taken them away, and probably even sanctioned the people involved. Unfortunately, there was no such person, and that's why this contract was lost. But with Bayern Munich, they saw it, they took quick action, reacted instantly, and I mean, the player got fined. The sponsor saw that, yes, they took action, and so they probably would have explained it to the sponsor as a mistake or an error, which they've dealt with, and the sponsor would have accepted it, and it would affect them in the long run. So this is why it's so important to have that compliance officer you know, or compliance unit within the federation, within the NFF, to deal with things like this. So, like I said, players at top professional clubs get these briefings as soon as they join the club, and they are advised, they are told exactly what needs to be done. So it's about being professional and knowing, you know, the lines that you cannot cross.
Exactly. So practically, what now comes out is people start doing damage control for the players and all of these things. Things that could have
Oh
been
yeah,
avoided.
the players normally would. In fact, they should even have their own somebody in their management team. I mean, if you're big and you're earning that much money, they should have people in their management team whose responsibility is to sometimes help them deal with these issues. Because I mean, they can sometimes forget. But the thing is, these people cannot live with you 24 hours a day. You know, 7 days a week.
Very true.
You know, so which is why I said, you know, sometimes, I mean, Kuman might have forgotten, because, I mean, we're only human, we make mistakes. I don't think it's ever going to happen to him again or his teammates, because they'd have seen what happened right after that. So it does happen, but it's up to the club or the federation to have a compliance unit that enforces these things. OJB Sport, no, we don't have a department doing that now. We only have a marketing department, we don't have a compliance department. What I can tell you is that, you know, I don't even know if I should say it, but anyway, let's go ahead. I think I'll leave it.
All right, so I'll just do a quick shout out to some guys that have joined us. I think Shehu Official, that's Shehu who plays for the Super Eagles. He has joined
Oh,
us.
Shehu Abdullahi. Shehu
Shehu
Alpha.
Abdullahi. Yeah, Shehu is with
Yeah,
us. Drewi is with us. OJB, everybody. So I can't mention everybody's name right now, but I mean, so let's go ahead. So let's bring it down to players. So when brands decide to endorse a player or an athlete, do they appoint someone who manage these things for them, or they manage it themselves?
Well, I think it depends on the player. I mean, if you have a player like Messi or Ronaldo, you definitely want someone who can manage that relationship, you know, and make it work. But overall, like I said, there's always a liaison, you know, a liaison unit that works with. I mean, it's not just about players; it's also about big celebrities, big stars. You know, if, for instance, I'll give you an example. Steph Curry, for instance, Steph Curry was going to sign when he came to the NBA. Nike wouldn't touch him, you know, even though he was using Nikes as a college athlete, but they probably felt because of his height he wasn't going to be successful in the NBA, so they wouldn't touch him. And then they made him an offer that he found ridiculous, you know. So, well, no, I think they gave him an earlier contract, which was a ridiculous contract. He played with Nike for a bit, and then he went to Under Armour. And I think, yeah, I remember what one of the things they said was that the person who was even making the pitch to Steph Curry, because this brand normally, they look at an athlete, they weigh your value, what your potential value is, and all that, and they come and they make a pitch, and then they put you on a they put you on a scale, you know, to say, okay, this is how much this person is worth. This is a grade where you are. So for Steph, they put him, I think, on a grade 3 or so, which was below some of the other top stars, and so on. And Steph was really upset. So he goes to Under Armour. Under Armour offers him a better deal, and by then Under Armour was a struggling brand. But within the first, was it 3-4 years of his contract, Steph Curry took Under Armour from struggling brand and made them like a top 3 brand, just almost behind Nike and Adidas, you know, in the US. So by then, I mean, it was too late. Nike, he had already made what he had made for them, and they couldn't get him back again. So what he did was that he took Under Armour from an unknown brand and took them way up there. So now he's got a deal where he's not just being paid an endorsement, he's also got an ownership shares in Under Armour, you know. So yeah, what happens usually is that brands might approach players if they see that the player has the potential to be really good and to command and to command, to influence marketing, to influence their sales. But at the same time, especially in Africa, what normally happens is you see player representatives approach brands and say, hey, my player can do this for you and do this for you and do that for you, and they sign an endorsement. Now, the problem most times is not it's about the market. Now, the US market is a very sophisticated market. The South African market is a sophisticated market. The European market is a sophisticated market. Now, the reason is that most of those markets, the economies, they are producing economies. Ziggy, stop disturbing my life. they are manufacturing economies, so they produce stuff. Now, in Nigeria, we're essentially a service economy. All we do is buy. The one thing we produce is oil. So it's a very small, shrunken of economy. So, and it's hard, for even though we have the population, which normally should give us an advantage, it's hard for athletes to drive sales for any brand. And apart from that, we don't produce enough, to do that. So it's kind of hard for players or athletes or sports stars in our economy, to command big endorsements. That's why you see the likes of maybe Mikel Obi, as big as he is, hasn't got significant endorsement from Nigeria. Victor Moses and co. They just get all this stuff that you see them with the LG and a few others that they just put up billboards and stuff. But they don't really do. I mean, go to Egypt and see Mohamed Salah. Salah is huge.
Huge.
So Coca-Cola, all the big brands in Egypt, they are falling over themselves to get Salah, because if Salah holds up a Coca-Cola bottle, everybody's going to buy Coca-Cola. But our people don't have that same kind of drive. If Mikel holds a Coca-Cola bottle, for instance, it's hard to see everybody rushing to go and get it because Mikel held it up. So it's also a mentality thing, There's the idea behind marketing or influencer marketing is somebody who can drive a herd mentality, and unfortunately we don't quite have that here.
Yeah, so really, we really don't have someone who can do that in Nigeria. I mean, I've had the opportunity of traveling to India. I see one of their top cricket player, or the guy in the Bollywood, he's all over. He's everywhere. Like, he does advert for all the brands, the oil sector, the drinks, the online. Everywhere, everybody wants to use this guy. Even the online stores, they use the same guy. And I'm like, what's happening in Nigeria? Is it that we cannot have somebody that is like this? What exactly is the problem?
Well, the thing is, like I said, it's not about the stars. We have them, It's about the market. I mean, as much as we have a huge population, what we don't have is a buying population. That's the biggest problem. What we have is an entitled population, people who expect the government to give them everything. I mean, if you look at China, for instance, the reason why China is such an influential economy in the world is because, one, they have a population in billions, and that population, the majority of them, buy stuff. They're a buying economy. And the same thing with all of Asia. They're a buying economy. Look at in England, for instance, all of the UK doesn't have as much of population as Nigeria. In fact, if you look at South Africa, for instance, they have 56 million people, but of that 56 million, at least half of those, minimum, have the purchasing power to spend on sales, on buying. And because they have that, and they don't only just have that purchasing power, they are also a manufacturing economy. For instance, how in South Africa, not like in Nigeria where we import cars every time, and we buy second-hand cars. In South Africa, they actually manufacture those cars there, whether it's Mercedes or this or that, they manufacture them there. I mean, they might assemble them there, but they manufacture them. So if Mercedes, for instance, decides, okay, look, I want to sponsor a South African athlete, they know they can use that athlete to drive sales of their brand.
Very true.
Whether it's food, whatever it is they make, that they can use that to drive sales. Now, in Nigeria, if you want to buy a car, you go to Benin Republic to go and get a second-hand car, or you go to second-hand car shopping that you go and buy. Now, that second-hand car you're buying, ultimately, it doesn't really affect the manufacturer's bottom line as much as if you were buying a brand new car.
Yeah.
Or we buy cars from Europe and then ship them down to Nigeria. It doesn't affect their bottom line because those sales are sales that have been made abroad, so they don't reflect as Nigeria sales, they reflect as sales from that country that you bought them from. So it's not a matter of the athletes that we don't have. It's a function of the fact that we don't have a manufacturing economy, and because we don't have that, people don't have the spending power. Because they don't have the spending power, they can't spend. Recently, the government made a very quiet regulation, which many people don't know about, to ensure that manufacturers, people like who do things like milk and rice, and that they actually source their raw materials from here in Nigeria. Now, most people don't know of that rule, but what it did is that a lot of these guys who produce milk and stuff in Nigeria are now forced to create factories in Nigeria. Now, because they are creating, so for the next 2 years or so, I'm sure you won't hear much of all of those people doing any kind of advertising, because now they are putting the money into developing their factories, And when it's only after they've done that, now when they finish, they now start selling directly, because they are now sourcing their raw materials from Nigeria. If they have factories here, now they can now start pushing marketing and using local stars, local athletes to drive
sales.
Because now they can't spend all that money importing stuff from there, because usually they will just import they already made things for us, so it's not a problem for them. But now, because they have to do everything here, they have to now spend money here. So those are the things that will change the way marketing is done in Nigeria.
Drill Wee says the guy in India is bigger than Messi in terms of endorsement. Is that for real?
Oh yeah, sure. Look, again, India is like China. They have a huge population.
Buying population.
Yeah, so, and it's a buying population. They have disposable income. In Nigeria, we don't have disposable income. That's the problem. And when you don't have disposable income, you can't force people to do anything. Marketing in Nigeria is mostly, this is a cliche, but it's mostly CSR. They just do it because they have a marketing budget and they have to spend it. So they're thinking, okay, where do we put this? It's not because, not necessarily because it drives sales in a significant way. It doesn't move the needle, that significantly. So I'm not sure. I know how many people who have gone out to buy an LG product because they saw Alex Iwobi's face. No, it's a fact, So mostly it's either a CSR or it's just building brand equity, in the sense that, okay, you want people to associate, to see, to put it at top of mind, ahead of other brands, but not because it actually drives sales. At the end of the day, what the businesses need is to drive sales.
True. And then reality check is now that when it now comes to the brands in Nigeria, you have the guys going for the Super Eagles players. And the guys in India, I don't know why these Indian experience keep playing in my head, because everywhere you find billboards, you see the guys who play cricket in the country, the guys who play football, who play in the Euro League, who play in the Super League. They are the ones on the billboards, on everything. And the guys, when you want to come back to Nigeria, you can't relate it. You only find the guys who are playing for the Super Eagles. And it's just a few of them that need these adverts. What exactly is going on? Is it that Nigerian players who are based in Nigeria, they are not marketable, or they are not? I don't want to use the word marketable. Just like you said, is it that they don't have that brand to push the sales? They don't have that brand to.
Okay, you know what? Let me put this in very simple terms that just sort of like makes it easy to understand. Because if we start talking and using big English, now some people don't get it. Now, the thing about branding, I wish I could find. If I was inside, I would have used something. So anyway, I'll use my hand. I don't know if you can see my hand now.
Yeah, I can.
Here's the thing. Yeah, what happens with brand endorsements and marketing and sponsorships is this: say a brand is here, right?
Yeah.
Now they see maybe an asset, either it's a football player or a football team or so, that is maybe here. Now what they want to do, or maybe even at the same level, let's even say that same level, right? Now what they want to do is by coming together, they want to be able to raise their each of them their profile, their combined profiles to here, right? Good. Now you can't now, but if as a brand you are here and you have somebody who is here, what are you doing? You can't now decide that you want to go down to go and
No
bring to
way.
now raise, because that means you as a brand will be the one trying to raise the person up or raise that asset up. So the reason why is either the asset is here and the brand is here, just like, and the brand is here, and they see that, okay, if we connect, we can both either go up or they can push me up here. Now, if you look at the case of Steph Curry, for instance, Nike were a much bigger brand, right? So they
Yeah.
saw Steph Curry. Steph Curry was here. Now, you can either look at where the person is at the moment, or you can look at the potential of where the person is going to be. So Nike saw Steph Curry and said, oh, he's here. And they probably estimated that, okay, he might get up to, say, somewhere here. So that means what we're doing, we can do him a favor and offer him this amount of money. But Under Armour saw him as being here, and they might be maybe slightly high at that time, they might be having slightly bigger at that time. But they saw that there was a potential here for Steph Curry to take them from here to here. And so what happened at the time was that Under Armour was here, they raised Steph Curry to their level, and then all of a sudden, Steph Curry went up here and took Under Armour with him. So that is the process of branding and endorsement. Now if you take an MPA, let's say I'm a brand like let me pick a small brand like, say, Cowbell Milk.
Yeah.
It's not a huge brand, and Cowbell Milk is a brand that, of course, even our poorest people can afford. You go and buy the small sachet.
Yeah, sachet.
Now let's say Cowbell Milk goes and says, okay, they want to sign an MPFL player. First of all, what name recognition? Because branding is about name recognition. What name recognition has an MPFL player got? That's one. Two, apart from name recognition, how would an MPFL player drive sales for Cowbell? Now, most of the players you don't see them on TV, so people don't know them. So if you put an MPFL player on a billboard now, even somebody who's in his locality will pass and not even probably wouldn't know who he is or what he does, or he might have been seeing him around but doesn't know he's a football player. So Cowbell will look at that and think, okay, nope, I can't do with that, because even if I have to say, okay, let me go all the way down and embrace this person, it doesn't have the marketability to take me forward. Without social media presence, it's not seen on TV, the club is not doing well, and almost all the stories you hear about the league is negative. So what they tend to do is they tend to focus, when they want to use an athlete or sports person, they tend to focus on Nigerian football players, because football is what Nigerians watch the most, and the Super Eagles players are the most popular. And you will also notice that they almost always pick the top players. Mikel, Iwobi, Musa. You hardly ever see them. I mean, who else have you seen? Have you seen them pick, say, something like Jamilu Collins, for instance? No, because they don't know him. Let me see. Who else would I call? Moses Simon.
Interesting. I mean, this is getting so interesting. I think the network is from Colin's end. Let's see if we can come back on time. I mean, just like your IP lawyer says, there are no numbers. No MPFL players are. Totally agree with you. Like, these players are just unknown. They don't have any standing anywhere. Like, no brand understands, no brand even knows them. Like, people don't know them. You and I just watch, and then we see that, oh, it's just for people who know these guys that would say that, oh, okay, these are MPFL players. Some people can't even mention 10 MPFL players. So we'll just wait for Colin to get back. I think the network thing is from his end. It's getting very interesting. So I mean, if you have questions, you can keep them coming, and then I'll take them down. So once Colin gets back, we would connect with him. I mean, there's a lot to be done. It's a wake-up call, like Udrewi said. It's a wake-up call. Everybody needs to do something. Everybody needs to do something. There's a lot to be done. The fact that there is no TV in our league is a disservice to everybody, even the players themselves. What are they branding? What are they going to brand if they cannot get noticed? If nobody sees them play, then what's the motivation? I mean, nobody gets motivated for everything. Drew, say, we know where you go better. No wahala. I mean, let's try and wait. Drew, let me bring Drew on before Colin gets back. Let's see, Drew. Yeah, so boss.
Hey, what's
How's it
up?
going? So
I'm good. I'm just strolling. I'm doing my work and I'm listening. You know, I'm doing some exercise. Man. I don't want to put on weight.
yeah,
Yeah, we
that
have to.
it's
We
very
have
good.
Colin.
It's very good.
Colin's a great guy. We need to have him back. Let me wait on my turn. But
Yeah.
the long and short is that there's no excuse. There's no
Yeah.
excuse. All our Super Eagles players should have an endorsement. They should, but they have to apply themselves. It's all about investment. They have to invest in themselves. You know how much Pogba invests in himself? You think it's by coincidence that he's the biggest black brand in the world? These things, I tell them, it's so easy. What is branding? Brand is literally a reputation. Do they have a good reputation? Do they push their reputation? All right, let's leave it for later. We'll talk later. Let me wait for the boss, Colin Udoh, because
Colin is not online yet. Okay.
he
I
should
mean,
tell
you
us
can
more
go on
about NBA.
while you're working.
No, Collins is an experienced guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, I believe personally, I have a mandate to change the narrative. You understand? I'm an agent of change. I'm coming on board.
Okay.
Obviously.
Sorry, I think we got Colin back now.
Okay.
Drew.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just take Colin now, and then we get back. Okay. 1 second. I'm trying to accept you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's back. So it will continue from where he stopped. I mean, the narrative just has to change. A lot has to change. Okay. Yeah. We're back now.
Sorry, yeah, I think we had an issue with connection.
Okay. Okay. So,
Hold on.
yeah.
Yep, there you are.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't know where was I? I think I was talking about the fact that
Players that can command the Nigerian league situation. Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't have that with Nigerian league players because they don't have the marketing presence. They are not on social media. They are not on TV. They are not anywhere. So if you're not recognizable as a brand, how do you build another brand? You know, even if the brand tries to build you up, let's say like Steph Curry, for instance, you know, do you have the potential to take that to the next level and make them bigger? It's not possible. I mean, not at this not at this time. So, and that's why you see them most of the time they focus on the Super Eagles players, you know, and even when they do that, they only focus on the popular ones, Musa,
Yes.
Mikel, Didi, and co. You know, you don't see them, you know, going to the other ones like maybe Jamilu Collins and so on. So that needs to change, you know, and the way we can change that is by you know, helping footballers or athletes build their own personal brands, but they can't do it alone. They also need TV, they also need broadcast, they also need the media to help, you know, build in that brand building, the whole brand building process.
I mean, yeah. So you're already touching into the next question I was about asking. Now, how can these players change the narrative? Does the responsibility lie solely on them? It is clear that a lot needs to be done in terms of organization, in terms of structure from the top to help the players who are the key players, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if we had a thriving media, broadcast media in Nigeria, then it could happen. At the moment, it's not there, you know, and because it's not there, it's hard to push these players because everything is sort of like in a connected ecosystem, you know. So the players they have the talent, they show it on the field. When they show it on the field, it's shown on TV, and then as it's shown on TV, the media pushes it, the people see it, and they want to see that over and over and over again, you know. So it comes down to talent, money, and public relations, you know, or strategic communications. Because if they have the talent, you know, that's one step. Now, money drives followership. If you hear, for instance, that say, let me pick a random player from the MPFL now. Say Enyimba's Ifeanyi Anemene. If you hear that if you hear that he has signed a 50 million naira contract with Enyimba, trust me, everybody will want to know who that young man is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it happened when Mekan Wana became the first player to sign a 1 million naira contract when he moved from Rangers to Enyimba. For years, everybody was looking Ayaya. Now, if we had a proper broadcast and media industry at the time to have driven that, you know, what you'd have seen over time would have been Ayaya plastered everywhere. Abba, his face would have been on all the boards in Abba. His face would have been on all the TV stations, you know. His face would have been everywhere. And the more you build that personality, that brand up, the more that the next brand will come and say, okay, we want to, even if he loses one endorsement, the next one will come and I want to sign again. The same thing will happen now. If today, trust me, if today, let me see, which is the club? Okay, let's say Aqua United, for instance, today they have a good stadium and they have a good team. Now, let's say they sign a player for, say, the same thing, 20 or 30 million today, right? Trust me, whether you know him or not, the next thing is everybody will want to know who is that man who gets signed for 20 million, you know. And then if the club takes it one step further and puts his face on those billboards coming into Akwa Ibom State, you know, so as you fly into the airport in Uyo, his face on the billboard, you know, saying this man, I mean, whoever signed him. So even if, let's say, for instance, and he does that, and a brand in Uyo, say Mobile, for instance, decides to say, okay, let's endorse this man. Even if it's just 5 million naira they're paying him, but they pay him 5 million, and then they invest the other 5 into activating that sponsorship. They put him on those billboards. He's always on TV promoting their product. He's on radio. People are hearing his name, you know, and every little corner you have stickers and everything. Now, trust me, there's nobody who will not recognize that face. And what that happens, what that means is that the media now will now be forced to cover that player, and then if he now continues to do the business on the pitch, scoring goals or whatever it is he's doing on the pitch, then you now it makes him an even bigger player. So it's an entire ecosystem that needs to work together, starting with talent, money, and strategic communications or marketing communications. All of that go together. So at the moment, it's not happening, and it needs to happen.
Interesting. So I got that. So talent, money, and marketing communication. So everything needs to.
Your audio is low now. I don't know what happened. Your audio went down. Your audio just went down a bit.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly now?
A little bit.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on because my audio is at the highest level, but yours is a bit low now, so I don't know.
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me clearly? Drew, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me clearly? OJB.
I can hear you, but like really low down there. I don't know why.
Faint. Oh, okay.
But go ahead. I'll try and
okay.
I'll try and strain my ears to hear you.
Yeah, someone says we can hear you guys. Okay. All right. I mean, it's so with regards to the clubs in Nigeria. Now we're looking at we're focusing on the players now, right? We're focusing on what the players can do. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm straining, but I'll try and hear you. Go ahead.
Probably it might be from your hand. You say loud and clear.
Let me lower it and increase it again. Maybe okay, lowered now. Okay, go ahead. Let me hear.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Well, same thing, but go ahead. I'll strain to hear you, but go ahead.
Okay. So we've looked at what the players can do, how the players can be helped. So what about the clubs themselves? We have big clubs like Enyimba, FC Enyimba. Like Enyimba is so popular. I grew up knowing Enyimba, and then I started supporting Enyimba as well. These clubs don't have any big endorsement deals. They are the biggest in Nigeria. At one point, Kano Pillars had Boa Group. You know, at some point, Kano Pillars had Boa Group, right? So, what exactly is going on in the system? Is it that if the players cannot attract this brand, can the clubs as well attract this brand? Are they not big enough, or is it a matter of this TV thing that we still don't have?
Look, it again, it's more complicated than that. You know, there's a lot that goes on, mostly political and also, you know, should I say incompetence? I'm just trying to figure out the best way to say it. Okay, let's start with the political. You know, we all know these clubs are owned by governments, and most of the time, the governments, the governors, all they care about is something they can use as campaign slogans.
As
Oh, we
campaign.
want this, we want that. So our clubs are not that developed to the point where people, the administrators think, you know, long term. What they think about is the next match every single time. I'll tell you a story, and I won't mention the club. I was talking to should I call him a CEO and MD of a business recently, and he said that he has a club from his hometown that he supports as well as a boy, and he used to help them. Sometimes when they'll come and say, "Oh, government says no money, can you give us money?" and he will give the guy money to run to run the match or 2 matches or 3 matches until government money comes. Now, the first thing is that when the government money comes, you know, the guy doesn't come back and say, oh, money has come, or see the one you gave me, take it back, or even though it's not a loan, or I can use it to execute the next match. The thing is that once the government money comes, it's gone. Now, he sat this guy down and said, okay, look, we have this stadium sort of. Let's refurbish this stadium a little bit, you know, put some money into it during the off season, create some VIP stands. You know, I know people who just like me, you know, rich people just like me who have been followers of this club for years. You know,
Yeah.
I can reach them, and then each one we can buy some of these like boxes. You know, we can spend maybe like 10 to 20 million buying these boxes for the whole season, so you can have enough money. You know, so whenever the conversation moves to that part, that guy takes off, he never comes back. But if he calls me, say, guy, how far? He says, I'm coming, I'm busy. But when he says, I have money for you for
Come and take
one
money.
match, that night, the guy will be there. So you see, the thing is, at every point, these people are focused on, and sometimes, look, that's why I said it's complicated. You can't blame them because, like I said, it's a government thing. So now, if you, as a club administrator, appointed by the government, you are thinking, okay, let me make plans for how this club will grow for the next 5 or 10 years. You have a limited budget, right? And if you now decide to say, okay, let me put my budget in half, use half to spend on this, the other half to spend on matches. But if you're not winning football matches, there are 1 million people who are whispering in the governor's ears every day saying, this man doesn't know what he's doing. Please move him and put me. Or I might have a brother who knows more. So everything that these guys are doing is focused on winning the next match, the next match, the next match. So that, because even when you're winning, there's somebody who's talking to the governor and telling him, I can do better than this guy. I'm telling you, it's a fact. I've been there, I've sat down there, I've seen it, you know.
Oh, God.
So it's hard to make any sort of long-term plan. And if you can't make a long-term plan, you can't be talking about going to get endorsements or whatever it is, you know, because you're fighting both. First of all, you're fighting to win matches, you're fighting to keep your place, you know, and you're fighting to make everybody happy at the same time. And I mean, it's a crazy system that needs to change, and that's why part of the things that we've recommended over time, over and over and over again, is for the government to let go of the football clubs. A few years ago, when Duka Irabo was the LMC chairman along with Shehu Diko, they got the NASD to get Nigerian clubs to buy into the stock exchange, not like the real stock exchange, but over the counter. Now, part of what they needed to meet is what they needed to do was they had to set clear corporate governance structures, you know, in order to qualify to even be not even on the real stock exchange, on the over the counter side, you know. But a lot of these clubs ran away because just those little things alone, they could not meet up. Some went and told the governors, oh, don't mind them. So the governors pulled out. I mean, there were some governors who were ready to do it, but you know, because people now go back and whisper in their ears, it didn't happen.
Interesting. So interesting. I mean, a lot is going on behind the scene than we can see. So much is going behind the scene that we can all see. That's why people say that there is so much shrouded in secrecy when it comes to government. Yeah. So I once attended one of your training. I think it's either in 2013 or 2012. You had a training for media officers. in Lagos at the National Stadium. And that was the first time I was listening to you. Long time. Now, till today, some media officers and some clubs are still not doing the right things. Like some, I don't understand how managing social media is even a rocket science for these clubs. Why is it so difficult? What exactly is the problem? Is it still about the structure in the club that is not enabling these guys to do their jobs?
Again, it comes down to the same thing. It's a question of competence. Now, what I keep telling people is that being a journalist or being a reporter, being a journalist, is not a necessary or sufficient condition to be a media officer. It might be a sufficient condition, but it's not a necessary condition to be a media officer. I mean, what you need is a PR expert, somebody trained in strategic communications, to be a media officer, because at that point you're not a reporter. What you are is a communications strategist. That's what you are. And unfortunately, we have too many people who feel that because they've been journalists automatically qualifies them to be media officers.
Sorry, Colin.
It's not.
Sorry, 1 minute. So we have about 1 minute. So
okay,
this will time out and then we'll come back again. So once it times out, we'll have to come back.
Okay.
So you can go on.
No problem.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that being a journalist does not qualify people to be media officers. You need to get the training. And unfortunately, we have too many people who are, first of all, they are poor journalists in the first place, and then they become media officers. So they have no understanding of the role. As far as they are concerned, their role is limited to sending press releases, just sending, and sometimes they can't even write the bloody press release. They don't even know how to write it, So now, let alone know how to handle social media. Some of them do not even, they only know about social media when they became media officers. So what these people need is actual training. Because first of all, you can't hide a
media officer of a club, right? All right, sorry guys, that's 1 hour mark on live. We hope to connect back with Colin, who will take us back to what he's saying. That the fact that you are a journalist doesn't automatically qualify you to be a media officer of a club. If you don't have the right skills, if you don't understand what it takes, you can't be a media officer. All right, so Colin is almost back with us. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I'm sure you've learned 1 or 2 things. If you have questions, please get your questions ready. Yeah, so waiting for Colin to get back. All right. So we're back.
Keep doing that, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we're back now.
Okay. So I was saying that you just recapped it nicely, that being a journalist might be a sufficient condition, but not a necessary condition for you to be a media officer. So in any case, the point is that a lot of our clubs, again, due to political affiliations and so on, appoint media officers who are journalists, and some of those are already bad journalists to start with. Journalists who have little training, who can write, who can do anything, who can communicate, and then they now elevate them to media officers. So now it's our reality. We have to live in it. The question is, how do we make it? How do we make it better? So what we need to do in that case is to try to get guys trained, so that they can at least have some capacity in what they are doing, and not just training them in the role of communication, training them in how to disseminate information, and also training them in handling social and other digital media. Because if you don't do that, then we'll continue having it. Unfortunately, trying to train media officers sometimes is a bit of a challenge, because when you want to buy them in one place in Lagos or Abuja, for instance, to train them, and people will start asking you for transport fare and allowance. So I'm telling you, or they will tell you that the club doesn't have money to pay allowances and transport and accommodation, so whether you pay for them to attend. And brother, like I said, it's Nigeria. It's our
Okay.
world. It's our reality.
Okay, so let's simplify this now for the players themselves. How can we help simplify this thing? What is the role of the social media with the entire branding thing? What is the role of social media for these players themselves? Because some players don't even have social media. They don't even have Instagram. They don't even have Twitter. How can they start?
Well, look,
What is the starting point?
the thing is, before a player, everything you do from a branding point of view is strategic, right? And just opening a social media page is not enough. You know, like I said before, everything has to work in unison. So if you are a unknown player, right, nobody knows you, even your club fans, cannot call your name to say, oh, I know this player, he plays for my club. Then opening a social media page does nothing for you, except maybe you just want to just stay there and follow conversations. So first of all, you have to have the talent, to stand out.
Mm.
And then whether you have the talent or not, you have to be able to work hard, to be in that team and to make a mark in that team.
Mm.
And then you have to take deliberate efforts to brand yourself, because branding is about standing out. And if you don't stand out in those other areas, my brother, social media will not make you stand out. That's the truth. Unless, of course, you want to go and start, as you say, you want to go and start twerking on social media, and they will say, look at this player twerking. I mean, it's a strategy. It's a strategy. The player can decide, okay, nobody knows me. Let me go and do something that will make
me
them
popular.
know me. So he can go and start twerking on social media and he'll be like, is that not the Yimba player? Why is he twerking? Or the Kano Villas player, why is he twerking? And then he gets attention to himself. So, but every move has to be strategic. So, and the player has to decide, okay, the people in the area I want to reach, is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? Based off of that, you can say, okay, these are the channels that I want to use. Secondly, how do I put myself in front there? Is it by being the best player I can be? Is it by doing work with the community? Is it by standing out with the club? So all of those things are things that need to work together, come together as a strategy to build their own personal brand and their own marketability. Because until you do that and put yourself in a position where because sometimes you see these brands, they sit at meetings, they have strategy meetings where they sit down and say, okay, where do we spend money for this year? And or who do we spend the money on? And they say, oh, it's this person. Because and I'll tell you what, a player who has actually got this thing down to a T is Aziza Tofala. No, Aziza is a good player, but at the same time, even when she was a young player, because she was growing, she was taking steps to
Very
when she
true.
moved to Liverpool, it was everywhere. She's always, and then she was on social media promoting herself, getting other people to promote her, and then she was doing well for the national team. So people, as media, were now forced to join that bandwagon. So because we were doing that, we're now giving her additional promotion, which is what she needed, to be where she was. And then that promotion also now helped her to get awards. Those awards now built her up. I mean, for instance, if I'm being honest, we saw what happened a couple of times because the way the African Women's Footballer of the Year votes go is on non-AWC year, it's a popularity contest. That's the fact. During the non-AWC years, the African Footballer of the Year contest for women is a popularity contest. It's not based on what you've done. We've seen it. It's not the first time. We've seen it with Cynthia Uwa. We've seen it with this Ghanaian girl. What's her name again? We've seen it with Adjoa Bayo. We've seen it with South African Moko Matlu. So non-AWC years, it's so. But what has built our brand to the point where if a corporate is saying a strategy meeting and thinking, oh, which women's footballer are we going to work with? The first thing that comes to their heads is It is that it's brand equity. She has built brand equity. So even if she has a season where she doesn't do well, the first thing that will speak up in people's heads will be assistants. That's the whole thing. So
Interesting.
our players need to learn to understand that they have to build their brands and build their brands properly, individually, so that when people are thinking, about where to put money, where to put marketing budget, they come to mind.
All right. So thank you so much so far. I've got just one question. So if you guys have any question, you can send it over because we don't intend to keep calling for too long. He's got another session later in the day. I think in about an hour or so. So we see some of the guys who have played for Nigeria, who have played for the Super Eagles for quite some time. Many of them have almost gone out of the scene. Like they're not on our faces anymore. What exactly is responsible?
Again, it's easy. When you go out of the picture, you're out of the picture. New people take over. So, and if you don't keep yourself constantly in the picture, it doesn't happen for you. Look at people like JJ and Khan. Because first of all, they were great players when they were active, and then when they were not, they still stayed in the picture doing things. Look at Yobo, for instance. Yobo retired, and then he was almost going in the same direction. Now we had a conversation, and I told him, I said, look, guy, you've got to get yourself on TV. And I made a few conversations. I was trying to get him on Question when I was at Question, but I think somehow it didn't work out. And then he got poor thinking, and he went on Super Sport. All of a sudden, by going on Super Sport, his profile now went from being a player to being, a knowledgeable expert. And next thing you know, he's the Super Eagles. Next thing you know, he's got endorsement. Before Super Eagles, he got endorsement with a betting company. And then he got a few other endorsements. Why? Because he stayed in the consciousness. Now, if you look at some of the other players, not many of them had the same. Some of them had bigger profiles than Ikeba. But because Ikeba was constantly on TV, Super Sport, people see him and people remember him because he's always on TV. And people can relate. By contrast, think of some of the others. Garba Lawal has been forgotten. Babayaro has more or less been forgotten because nobody sees it. I mean, Babayaro was one of the biggest stars that we had, but because he retired and then went into a cocoon, it becomes hard, to track them and to keep them. So, because like I said, you have to be in people's mind, to be remembered, and you have to be able to drive sales or drive marketing. If you can't do that, people don't see you, then you can't do that. You can't get marketing budget put a place on you.
Interesting. All right. So we would like you to put figures to some of these things. We want to know what exactly these deals are worth. Let's say, for instance, maybe like a local brand. How much is it in particular? Like just estimation, an estimation. If you're going to estimate, how much do you think it can be worth a deal for a player, maybe in the Super Eagles, just for us to have an idea or something to think about?
To be honest, I can't give you those figures because one, they are not uniform, and at the same time, especially in Nigeria, people don't give out figures because on the one hand, the brands don't want to put themselves in a position where they think, oh, you're spending this amount of money, so much money, and then the players also don't want to position where, oh, this amount of money you're being paid, because some are not as big as you think, and some are not as small as you think. So I'd rather not get into that.
Some people say it's because
it's a mindset.
Some people say it's because maybe there are too many cuts. That's why they don't reveal how much.
Yeah, I mean, those things are also there because it's true. Because see, the thing about us, I mean, it's everywhere anyway, is that you do a deal and you have markup, and those markups before you get here, each agents take their own commission, and those include cuts to people and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, everybody knows what these things happen. So
interesting. I mean, I've been able to exhaust some of my questions, most of my questions. So I'm just going to take maybe 1 or 2 questions from you guys. If you have any for Colin.
Please, so I can go and listen. My wife has been on live with NFL, so I can go and listen to her.
Yeah, so I'm sure many people are also on that live, because I also need to join that live session very soon.
Exactly.
So we all need to. We can all go, but we're going to put on YouTube as well, so that we can always replay back anybody, because this is a learning session for us. For us, this is a class. For me, it's very informative. I've learned a lot from here. I've things that I didn't know about. So we're going to send this out, put it out there, so that people can go back and watch. Most people want to be here, but they also got to be on one or two engagements. All right. So I'll say a very big thank you to you, Colin. It's been quite. I've enjoyed myself. I've enjoyed this 1 hour plus that we've talked. I must say.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you for having me, bro. Thanks a lot. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much. And I've registered for the training as well.
Oh, okay. No
Yeah.
problem.
So
Thanks.
I'm waiting to learn. Yeah.
No
Thank you so
problem.
much.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I mean, it's just about to learn. For me, it's learning. Let's learn and grow. The best thing we can do is to learn and grow. Every information is useful to us. Every information. So on Saturday, I'll be having Drew Uyi. Drew Uyi is a brand specialist. He's an agent, a football agent. He understands branding so much. He understands what it means for people to do branding. He understands what it means for players and athletes to to have endorsement, even after playing as well. So on Saturday at the same time, 5 p.m., I'll be having Drew Uyi. You can check him out. So he's live here. Drew Uyi, thank you for joining. Swalis Omaro 12, thank you. Jalil, thank you. Muhib, thank you guys. Ois, thank you everyone. Xavier Pablo, thank you so much. Steven, thank you. Real Ayo, thank you so much. Major 747, thank you, I appreciate. F Yamalite, thank you so much. Kaduna Eziogu, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, I appreciate. Boss, no wahala. We dey with you. We dey wait for Saturday now. We dey wait Saturday. So you can check Drew Uyi out. I'm sure it's going to be another